So all because of community colleges. So for all of those that say that the only action is when you have a 4-year college degree or you go to university and that's really the only way to measure success, I think they're making a big mistake, because the fact of the matter is they should those people that think that we should think about it again when they want to get a house built. And they need a carpenter, and they need a plumber, and they need an electrician, and they need an expert to put the solar panels on top of the rooftop. Or the people that go to a shop and get their car fixed and want to get their engine tuned up and so on. They should try to see if that 4-year college provides this kind of education. And we should see when they go to a hospital and when the doctor is already at home, then there's a nurse actually sitting there that is saving your butt. That is really what is important. They should think about that. And this is why I'm such a big fan of career-tech education, such a huge fan of community colleges. And as Jack Scott said, I know a little bit about community colleges because I'm a product of a community college in Santa Monica. When I came over here in 1968, I was the bodybuilding champion and the lifting champion. But my ambitions were way beyond that. I didn't just want to be a champion because, that's something that, is good when you're a young person to go and compete and lift all these weights, 50 tons of weights a day. But I wanted to move on. I came to America because I wanted to be a champion and I wanted to be a successful businessman. I wanted to get in the movie business. I wanted to make millions of dollars and be rich and famous. That's why I came to America. And so I know that with bodybuilding alone you can't do that. And so I knew that I had to get smart, and first and most importantly I had to learn the language. And so I was struggling the first year with the language, but then in 1969 I enrolled in Santa Monica City College and took a class in English. The next semester I took 2 classes of English, and then all of a sudden I had the chance to run into a counselor who said, look, it seems to me that you talk a lot about business and you want to be really successful. Why don't you take some business classes? So I started enrolling in business classes, in microeconomics and macroeconomics, and then I took some classes in American history, American Indian history, and in accounting and marketing, communications, and the list went on and on and on. Let me tell you something, that I am so appreciative of the extraordinary education that I got at Santa Monica City College, because that enabled me then to eventually get a 4-year degree, but at the same time, it enabled me to get the knowledge that I needed to start a mail order business, to start a bricklaying business, to get into the restaurant business, to start a production company, and on and on and on, all because of that education. And as Jack knows, that many times we sit in our office and we talk about education and all kinds of different things in order to discuss the various different bills and legislation that is being worked on upstairs. And just recently I sat together with a bunch of lawmakers and we were talking about environmental issues, how we have to reduce greenhouse gases. And we were talking about it and I said, I think that there's a way of reducing greenhouse gases. We are right now talking about water infrastructure. And if we reduce the water usage and do conservation by 20%, that could get us an extra % of reduction on greenhouse gases. So they all looked at me and they said, how do you come up with this 1%? And I said, well, it's actually a little bit less than 1%. Well, how do you come up with that? Wait a minute, 20%? I have 8% reduction. The other one said 4%. The other one said 10%. And I said, no, wait a minute. I said, if you take 20% of 100, that's 20. If you take 20% of 20, that's 4. And if you take 20% of 4, that is 0.8. So that's how I came up with the number. I learned my math at Santa Monica City College. You get it? So this is why I say I was very happy I took all those math classes at Santa Monica City College, because you never know, because my kids, 2 of them are in college now, but the other 2 are young, and they always say to me, they come home, the 12-year-old says, why do I need this stuff that I'm learning in school? And I said, let me tell you, that math you will need someday. You don't know what profession you're getting into, but you always need math. You always need the language skills and all of those things. So this is why it is so important. But the bottom line is, this is why I love community colleges, and especially in this economic crisis, your work is even more important. Because I believe community colleges will play a critical role in our nation's economic recovery. As a matter of fact, this is an institution that we're talking about that I call the institution of hope. You provide the hope to the laid-off father who desperately wants to provide for his family and who needs to be retrained for his second career. And you provide the hope to the young woman turned away from the university who desperately wants to pursue her educational dreams. And you provide the hope to the budding entrepreneur who wants to go out there and create businesses on his own, but needs some guidance on how to run a business. Or you provide hope to an immigrant like myself that wants to learn the language and he wants to go and connect with America and be successful in this country. This is what community colleges represent, is hope, hope, and hope. And all of you here are the instruments of that hope. What a tremendous privilege, I can tell you. And it is also, of course, a tremendous challenge. We are very much aware of that, and Jack and I have talked about it many times about budgets. I know that across the country, there's budget cuts. The world now, after this whole budget crisis and financial crisis and housing crisis and economic crisis, the fact is the world is 1/3 worth less. And this is the reality, and this is why we in California also had to make cuts twice this year. One time we had to deal with $36 billion in February, $36 billion shortfall of revenues, and then again this July with an additional $23 billion shortfall on revenues. So of course those cuts are severe cuts, and they had an effect on all the programs, including community colleges. But you're being asked now to do more with less, just like in the private sector. But I have absolute faith and confidence in Jack and in all of the community colleges here in our state, and I know across the country. Faith in all of you. I know that by working together and by sharing innovative ideas, which is what this convention, of course, is all about, we can push through these dark nights and until we have brighter days coming. And I know they will be coming, because there's one thing that is certain, even though there's a lot of uncertainties here in California and in America, but there's one thing always that is certain, and that is that we always come back. America always comes back and will be bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. So I just want to say, to all of you, good luck with your work here today, and we want to wish you all the best of time. And just remember, I'm a big believer in a combination of working hard and also enjoying yourself. And so that while you're here, don't waste the time and just do the work. Okay, take your time and look around San Francisco. It's a beautiful town. The Bay Area is beautiful. Then we have the towering redwood trees, and then we have, of course, Hollywood, and we have Disneyland, and we have the beautiful coastline, and there's so many wonderful things. And what I'm basically saying is I'm trying to do a little hype for California, so you stay and travel around and stay a long time and spend some money, because we need your revenues. That's the bottom line. So thank you very much. Thank you. And just to let you know that I'm going back now to Sacramento, because we are in the middle of our negotiations. We're negotiating, and this is for a lot of people that are not from California, you don't know that. That's why I want to tell you. We're negotiating right now to upgrade our water infrastructure. It is something that Pat Brown started in the 60s and did a great job, but it was never finished, our water infrastructure. They never built the canal, they never fixed the delta, and did all of those things because California at that point ran out of money. So now we have been, since decades, talking about water infrastructure, and we got to bring it up to date. And of course, I was elected and became governor because people didn't want to just hear the dialogue, but they wanted to see action. And that's what I'm creating right now, because we've heard enough excuses now that why they couldn't get it done and why it's complicated and why it's difficult and all those kind of things. Now we want to create the action. So this is why we are sitting there every day now and negotiating with the legislators, and I made it very clear to the legislators and to the leaders that if this does not get done, then I will veto a lot of their legislation, a lot of their bills. So that should inspire them to go and get